Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dressed Rehearsal, episode 3. I am thrilled to have Emma Blake Handler on the podcast, and she is a dresser at Juliet on Broadway. So we really get to dive into the fashion side of things and see how working in a costume department really melds those two worlds, theater and style. Emma moved to New York in 2018 for an internship in the costume department at the Public Theater. And if anyone is unfamiliar, the Public Theater is a legendary New York City institution. It is an off-Broadway theater that is essentially the incubator for so many of the most iconic pieces of theater. So when you think of A Chorus Line, Hamilton, Hell's Kitchen, Suffs, these are all shows that started their journey at the Public Theater. And so, not too shabby of a place to begin your career. She worked there for about 5 years in the costume shop as a stitcher and also backstage as part of the wardrobe crew. She also got to be part of Shakespeare in the Park, which is the Public Theater's annual tradition of putting on Shakespearean plays in the middle of Central Park. Yes, it's as crazy as it sounds, but it is some of the most important initiatives in arts accessibility in the city and also just immersive experiences and things that literally only could happen here in New York City. She's also been lucky enough to work as a swing on Suffs and Hadestown on Broadway, as well as worked on costumes for Lempicka, which is a show we talked a lot about in our last episode that was led by Eden Espinosa, as well as Emma got to work on costumes for Swept Away, which was a show this season on Broadway that was gone too soon. Now I want to dive a little bit into what is a dresser. I'm sure most of you know what a costume department overall does, but the role of a dresser is really unique because on Broadway, a dresser is a backstage team member who is in the wardrobe department but is focused on helping the actors with their costumes, quick changes, and really just being their lifeline throughout the entire pre-show, during the show, and post-show process. They are the go-to to basically usher performers through those crazy few hours on stage, making sure that everything backstage is run smoothly in terms of having their outfits on the right side of the stage, having their shoes ready to go, anything you can think of. The dresser is basically the backbone of that operation. And so Emma takes that responsibility really seriously. And it was so special to hear from someone who's so passionate about both fashion and theater and how they've really built a life for themselves, bringing the things that they love most together. And so now she's working on & Juliet, which has been running at the Stephen Sondheim Theater for about 2.5 years now. And essentially, & Juliet is the story of Romeo and Juliet if they didn't die. And so, if Juliet took her life into her own hands and went on a magical journey of self-discovery. And so, it's a super fun show full of iconic pop tunes and just a good time all around. So today we really dive into Emma Blake Handler's experience so far in the industry, what fashion means in the theater, and everything in between. So please enjoy this episode of Dressed Rehearsal. Welcome, Emma Blake Handler, to the podcast. How are you,
Hi,
Emma?
I'm very well. How are you today?
I am so excited to have you on and really get the costume perspective from someone who
Yeah.
is currently in the thick of it. And the way we like to start every podcast is with what is the show that got you hooked into theater?
Okay. The show that really made me attach myself to theater is
Mhm.
this DVD from, I want to say 1995 of My Favorite Broadway, the Leading Ladies concert hosted
Obsessed.
by Julie Andrews. Yes.
Sure.
So, of course, when I was little, we watched that on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. I was learning choreography and lyrics that were not appropriate for a 4 year old, frankly. Um, but I was obsessed. I loved it. And then from there, I watched Singing in the Rain, which is a movie about making a movie. And it's all kind of just attached itself to me from the start.
And did you see they are doing another PBS special of like Broadway Leading Ladies?
Oh my God, I know. I'm so excited.
I looked at tickets because it was at Town Hall not that long ago, and the lineup was insane.
I saw the lineup. I was like, if I had a chance to go to that, I would probably sob.
Right. Like, I'm sorry, we're getting Jesse Mueller, like the list goes on and on. Like, I want to be in the room where it happens.
I can't even fathom. Like, I'm going to see Sondheim's Old Friends with my mom,
hmm
and I'm already geeking because I'm such a Sondheim girly.
I feel like it's such an acquired taste, and people
It
are
is.
in right now, even like seeing like the company revival and watching things like being flipped on its head, it just shows that like Sondheim is so universal in the fact that you can like twist it and change it to whatever you want it to be, and it still stands.
Sondheim is one of our geniuses for sure, has been one of our most incredible lyricists, frankly, in my opinion. Into the Woods is my favorite musical.
Okay,
So, like, I have an Into the Woods tattoo. It's sheet music for No One Is Alone.
love.
Um, and it did make me cry when I got it.
And when did Into the Woods come into your life?
I cannot honestly remember exactly. I just feel like it's one of those things that I've always loved.
hmm
Um, my mom directed a production of Into the Woods, and when she was in college, and I have her sweater from there, and it's just kind of always been in the zeitgeist of our house.
hmm
So I can't pinpoint exactly when. I've just always loved Into the Woods.
And I was curious about like, I think specifically theater, but also like costume departments are so intergenerational. And
Mm.
are there people that have really mentored you on your path and feel like they've brought you to the point that you're at now?
Oh, definitely. I had a professor in college, Martha. I cannot remember her last name right now, and I feel bad about that. But
She can be like Cher.
Martha is like Cher. She was iconic. Um, I don't know. She was this much older woman. She seemed to take a liking to me, and I was very honored by that because she allowed me to do certain things in the college costume shop that were mostly meant for grad students, but I was an undergrad. But because I had like volunteered my time in the costume shop, they started to trust me and give me more responsibilities. And she just kind of took me under her wing and gave me challenging projects that I otherwise would not have gotten.
Mm.
And I can't appreciate her enough for that because it stretched what I thought I would be capable of at the time. And it made me keep wanting more interesting and challenging projects, which I then had more challenging projects from another older woman at Orlando Shakespeare Theater. And it's just a lot of older women have really guided me in costumes.
hmm
You know, I've had a lot of wonderful experiences from those mentors.
And I think it's also a beautiful experience for them because they remember when they were starting out and for
Oh,
them to
probably, yeah.
impart that wisdom on you and see you grow and you have this beautiful career now. And you said Orlando Shakes, and we're from the same place in Florida.
Yes.
And so I'm curious if growing up, did Broadway seem so far away, or did it feel like an accessible dream?
A little bit of both. There was the accessibility of going to the Broward Center
hmm
and seeing regular shows there. I was very lucky that my parents brought me. It absolutely from a place of privilege that I got to see as many shows as I did growing up. Being exposed to the arts as a child is so important and formative. Um, and at the same time, because of how much I felt like theater was part of my life, the idea of Broadway felt so, this like the stakes felt really high,
Mm.
and it didn't feel necessarily like something that was a given.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like something that was like, oh, that's for the real people that do
Mm.
this. And I'm someone who just likes it, you know? But it's important to like what you do.
Right.
So it felt both accessible and distant at the same time in ways that I think worked for each other because
Mm-hmm.
it made me work harder, but it also gave me a familiarity.
Right. And it still feels so special and so rare that it happens without it also feeling like it shouldn't be you. And I think that
Yeah.
relationship with like imposter syndrome is once you get to whatever your personal Mount Everest is and you look around and realize that everyone feels the same way of like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
It's a,
And the excitement is still there. Like I will still be starting. I'm currently at and Juliet, and my first change in the show, I have like a half a number to just kind of sit and watch the monitor before the actors come at me for my quick changes.
Mhm.
And I do get a second to like watch the monitor and hear the audience. And Juliet starts the show by taking a big deep breath, and I like to take a big deep breath with her.
Mhm.
And it does really ground me. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're here. We got a show to do. It's
Mhm.
really exciting to me, even still.
And does it feel different than you had dreamed of? Because I feel like so many people spend years and years and years with one goal in mind, and then once they get to that point, it doesn't feel the same as they would have thought. Do you feel like this is what you dreamed of?
Um, a little bit, yeah. It's very exciting because I feel like I have found where I'm supposed to be at the moment,
Mhm.
costume wise. I did expect, I did used to think that I would be a costume designer.
Okay.
Um, and then, as you start learning about the industry, as you start working it, there are different things that you didn't know about certain jobs, and your ideals will change about that. So there are some aspects to being a costume designer specifically that I learned I didn't want to do.
Hmm.
And there were aspects to being, a dresser and a stitcher that I really liked doing that I wouldn't get to do if I were a costume designer.
Hmm.
So there's like it it's the job that I wanted overall to work in theater costuming. The specifics are different.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
1,000%. I feel like that happens with a lot of people in this industry of like just the visibility of what jobs are available
Hmm.
is different than like you can have a sense of what you want to do without knowing exactly where that fits into the industry.
Right.
And I'm curious, like, since your love of theater started so young, do you feel like theater was your gateway and then costuming was like your way in? Or was it fashion was your first love and like this is how you're going to marry the two?
I really feel like those two loves of mine developed simultaneously parallel.
Okay.
And then I got lucky enough to figure out how to converge them.
Mm.
Um, I did Florida thespians when I was in middle school and high school. And when I was in eighth grade, I submitted a costume design category because my bat mitzvah theme was fashion design.
Obsessed.
So I was like preparing for my fashion design themed bat mitzvah while also auditioning for the eighth grade musical and learning about Florida thespians and the competitions that you can go into different categories with. And I was like, wait, I love drawing clothing. Let me draw clothing for this play and see if people actually like it. And so that marrying of the two started, I think, in like eighth grade,
Mm.
but I had been so into both separately up until then. I just got really lucky.
I mean, she knew who she was from an early age.
Yeah, kinda. I was like when I was younger, I did gymnastics and I had designed some leotards for our gymnastics things. And a couple of them got made for things that we did, and I was like, those are my leotards. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, before I realized that I could do theater and fashion at the same time, I wanted to be an Olympic gymnastics leotard designer.
So specific, but so right.
But really like on brand for my entire life, kind of.
Mhm.
Looking back at it, it's very strange.
I feel like everything in life is just like putting all of the random pieces together. And
Yeah,
like even think about whoever got your leotards made, like they kind of showed you without directly telling you like what you can dream of can also be a reality and like what you're thinking in your head is feasible.
absolutely. It was incredibly encouraging and formative in a way that I couldn't possibly realize.
Hmm. And now, when you are looking back, like, are there specific early experiences that you feel like most prepared you for what you're doing now? Like, if I'm aspiring to work in a costume department like you, like, what are the things that you look back and you're like, oh, I lean on those skills all the time?
Um, well, learning to sew, I didn't learn to sew until I was in college.
Wow, okay.
And I think that anyone who wants to maybe go into costuming should know that that is okay. It's not
Hmm.
too late to first start in college. Um, it's never too late to learn a new skill, frankly. But yeah, I had always been interested. I went out of my way to look up certain things. Like I always loved watching behind the scenes videos for movies talking about their costumes and makeup and hair, and I always really liked knowing how things are done
Hmm.
and the why, not necessarily the why, but the how. So I'm like, oh, how did they make that? How did they do that? And it doesn't really matter what medium we're talking about. I'm still going to want to know how it's done.
Totally.
So I like knowing how things are built. And that's what led me to being like, how are these clothes put together so that they can come on and off so quickly and seamlessly? And, I think there are certain, I was just always drawing too.
Hmm.
Um, so I was like really drawn to the artistic side of things from the beginning. And
Right.
I think feeding that with as many kinds of inspiration, like sources,
Mm.
as you can is so crucial. Like, learn as much as you possibly can about anything, really. Just keep learning.
Right. And it's interesting, I think a lot of times with performers especially, they can get really dialed in of like, I need to hone this specific craft. And when you
Mm-hmm.
realize like in every role that you're going to play in life, the more holistically you understand any human experience, the more it's going to influence what you're doing on stage or backstage. And
Right.
and it's like, okay, I think that like me playing soccer and also doing theater isn't going to influence whatever. And it's like, no, like you're going to pull from the teamwork that you're learning there. Like there's always things to pull from external experiences. And sometimes when you get so zoned in on one thing, you forget to like look around and kind of collect different experiences.
Absolutely. And there's also like I did my fair share of performing as well. And I think there are things that I learned from the performance side that have helped me as a costumer. And I
Hmm.
think there are things that have helped that I have learned as a costumer that informed and helped me as a performer. Um, so it's like I know that a lot of people are like, I have to get a BA so I can study tech, or I have to get a BFA so I can study performance. I purposely wanted the BA so I can study both
Hmm.
because I knew that knowing them simultaneously would be so beneficial to whichever I pursued in the long run.
Right. And you know what an ask looks like from both sides. Like if
Yeah,
I'm a performer asking for like this hem to be different and you know that that's not going to work logistically. Like you can play both sides of like, okay, this is what I would have liked when I was a performer and vice versa.
Exactly. It's super helpful, I think.
Right. And so much of also working as a dresser is more than just the logistics of this quick change and placing shoes here. It's also like
Mhm.
emotionally supporting the cast members that you're working with. And can you
Yeah,
talk about that responsibility and that connection with being like faced with actors?
absolutely. I love that part of being a dresser, the actor facing part. It's on my more cynical days, I call it hospitality job, but really it's like it's a gift to have that kind of back and forth. It's really important to me that my actors see me as a safe space.
Hmm.
You know, we're doing very vulnerable things. They're getting undressed and I am taking care of them while they are in that vulnerable state. So it matters to me that they feel comfortable around me. You know, I try to know when to insert myself where I don't usually first. So our swings when she's on and I have this one specific quick change with her, it's like out in the open. So I really try to make sure that I'm giving her as much privacy as possible. And it's just like adjusting the change a little bit in the moment. It's, you know, it's the little things. It's being aware, like, oh, she was coughing earlier. Let me make sure that I have her water bottle with her for the next change.
Hmm.
Or somebody's really hot. I heard them complaining about the heat on stage. Let me have the fan ready for them during the quick change. You know, it's little things like that that matter to me that I get right.
Hmm. And it's like an emotional intelligence beyond what your day-to-day thought of like what a costume department does.
Yeah, it's a very personal connection that costumes tends to have with the actor because of how vulnerable we are, you know, in our own bodies. Everyone's vulnerable in their own body.
Right. And something I saw recently that I thought was very cool is Mary-Kate Morrissey, who is the last Elphaba on Broadway, did like a
Mm-hmm.
whole dedication to her dresser, talking about how like she would not be getting through this contract or this run in any way, shape, or form without having her dresser. And her dresser would like give tours of the Gershwin when she's like degreenifying to like her friends and family. And being that like steadfast person that is like ushering someone through just like a brutal few hours of their day
Yeah.
is such a unique responsibility, and it just shapes someone else's experience so much by like how attentive you can be and how thoughtful you can be.
Yeah. It, again, it really matters to me that actors see me as a safe space, especially when I have the most amount of changes with one person or whatever. Um, because then again, you know, sometimes people have just bad days in general and they need you to like not pile on.
Hmm.
And you need to be able to know when to like offer some comfort or just shut up or just make jokes or
Right.
whatever. It's a lot of reading the room. It's a lot of paying attention to people's needs. I don't know. I like taking care of people.
And it works, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And now, kind of like shifting into your personal style a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you had like a Mount Rushmore of like style influences, like places that you can draw from. It doesn't have to be like a specific person, but like if
Mm.
you have a creative block, like what do you look to for style inspo?
For style inspo specifically, my Mount Rushmore would be two fashion designers and two costume designers.
Okay.
So I would go with Betsy Johnson. I've been loving Betsy Johnson's clothing since like sixth grade. My first big purchase was a pair of Betsy Johnson sunglasses. I bought it with my own money and I was obsessed with them.
And she loves
And
to cartwheel down that runway.
she loves to cartwheel down that runway. And she's awesome. And I think there's a lot of like kitsch
Mm-hmm.
and camp that is so underappreciated. And Betsy Johnson's one of them. Edith Head, I'm not sure if you're familiar. She's a costume designer from like the 50s and 60s. She did a lot of, you know, Grace Kelly, uh, like Alfred Hitchcock movies. She is the ultimate designer. Her work is so elegant. Like think Shirley MacLaine and What a Ways to Go. Like,
Like
oh my
diva.
God. Diva
Mm-hmm.
costumes. Beautiful, gorgeous gowns.
Like Bob
Um,
Mackie energy, kind of, or different.
I'd say similar in like aura,
Okay.
but different in presentation. Bob Mackey's more like huzzah
Boom.
to
Uh-huh.
me, whereas Edith Head is very elegant, Audrey Hepburn, like,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Oh, I was just obsessing over Ruthie Carter, who was the costume designer for the Black Panther movies, as well as, um, she just did the new Sinners movie with Ryan Coogler. She's an amazing costume designer. If you pay any attention to the costumes in Black Panther, it's like uh, unreal what she accomplished with that. Technically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Like I could keep learning stuff that she did on that movie and still be amazed with every new thing that she did. She designed Afrofuturism from like the ground up. It was incredible work. And lastly, I'd go back to fashion design and say Elsa Schiaparelli.
Okay.
I wouldn't, I don't like dress like Elsa Schiaparelli clothing because goodness gracious, that would be difficult and expensive. But God, if I ever want to do some fashion design for fun and I
Mm-hmm.
can't think of where to go, I start by looking at Schiaparelli like runways.
I mean, you must have died when Ariana Grande walked out at the Oscars in a Schiaparelli.
Oh my God, with the shoe on the back from
So
last
good.
season. Oh my God, it was so good. I really love following the fashion, especially I think Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo did some incredible theme fashion for the Wicked press tour. I love following press tour fashion.
Well, we get more of it soon, thank God.
Thank goodness.
And then also on Betsy Johnson, I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with Susan Alexandra, but it's like
Yeah.
the same energy. And she has a store downtown. And just to like walk through her, it's just like kooky, kitschy camp.
Yeah. I
So
love that stuff. I love when they did the Met Gala a few years back and it was Notes on Camp. I was living my best life.
that feels on brand.
That feels on brand.
And then is there a show that you've worked on that you're like, oh, that's a closet I want to live in?
A show I've worked on with
Or
a
just a show in
living.
general.
I don't know. That's so hard. I mean,
It doesn't have to
my
be
first
practical.
if it's not practical, then I'm going with the Cher show because it's Bob Mackie costumes.
Sure.
If we're talking not practical at all,
Hmm.
I want the Bob Mackie wardrobe from the Cher show, please.
Stephanie J. Block said there might have been like 50 costume changes, like
Something like that.
insanity.
And they're all probably like 30-pound costumes because they're fully beaded and rhinestoned and
And they're still on tour, so whoever has the job of schlepping around those dresses, Godspeed.
oh, that's I didn't realize they were still on tour. That's a lofty job.
Yeah.
That's whoever is their wardrobe supervisor for the tour. God bless you.
Sending all the love and care because,
Sending you so much love and respect and support because I admire you so much.
and then is there an artist or performer that you would love to dress? Like someone that's just like your vision board of like, I want to put you in this.
I don't know. I'm kind of a Stephanie J. Block stan.
Love.
I think I would love to work with her just because from various interviews I've seen, I really like her attitude. That sounds weird coming from someone who fully doesn't know her, really admire her.
Her podcast is why I started this podcast. Like a big
Yeah, no.
reason.
Yeah, I think she's great. I would really love to work with her. She takes on roles that have good costumes typically. Like wasn't she just in Kiss Me Kate?
Hmm.
That's some beautiful costuming. And then she did falsettos and there were those beautiful costumes in there too. And so Stephanie J. Block picked some really fun roles that I would like to dress, I think. You know who else is currently picking a lot of amazing roles that would be fun to dress is Jinx Monsoon.
Sure. That would be fun.
Oh my God. Kind of love her.
That would be like a wild, just like range of why not?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So those are my two right now. That answer, if you ask me tomorrow, will probably be different.
And I mean, that gives you so much range.
There are endless possibilities and endless opportunities for fun combinations when it comes to costuming.
Love. Okay, and then we're at our last question.
Yeah, what's up?
So, as you grow in your career, I'm curious, what do you want people to associate with you when they hear your name? Like, what is the version of yourself that you hope the world is aware of and kind of your stamp?
Wow, what a big question.
I know. It's like, what is Emma Blake Handler the go-to for?
I hope artistically
Hmm.
I could be someone that people just feel like understood by.
Mm,
I don't necessarily, you know, art is subjective and we don't necessarily always like the art we're looking at or participating in, or we don't feel understood by other people around us. And I just think whatever I'm working on at the time, I want to feel like a safe space. And whoever I'm working with, I want them to feel like I am a safe space. I try to keep an open mind. I try to take constructive criticism as much as I can. I'm very grateful when people are like, hey, what if we tried this? I'm like, oh my God, yes, let's go, let's do it. I
mhm.
love that idea. Like, I want people to be able to come to me and say, I like this, or I don't like this, or can we try this differently because I like part of it. I just want to be a safe space for people.
Mhm. And
That's what's important to me.
there's so much like ego involved in performing of like wanting the applause and wanting all these things, but like what you're doing is it's such a service to the greater picture. And I think it's such a backbone of like, no matter what happens out there, like they can feel like, okay, I have at least one steadfast thing that I can count on in the day. I can't count on if people laugh at this beat or they cry when I want them to cry. Like the only thing I can control is knowing what's gonna come next when I'm like running into the wings. And so
Yeah.
it's such a special sense of security for people in such like an up and down and unpredictable experience.
Yeah. I think that's always the goal for me is to be like one less thing for them to worry about while they're on stage.
Hmm.
I just want to make the show's life easier so that we can put on a show in the first place.
Love. Well, what a beautiful note to end on. And
Oh,
I can't thank you enough for just really like being so open and just honest of like, let's meet everyone where they're at.
I thank you so much for having me.
And there you have it, episode 3 of Dressed Rehearsal. Thank you so much, Emma, for giving us such a better sense of what it's like supporting actors backstage. You're not just placing costumes in the wings, but you're really being an emotional support for the performers and also painting a beautiful picture on stage through costumes. And so I was so excited to dive into this other aspect of the industry and was so inspired by the way Emma so seamlessly brought together her two biggest passions. And this podcast is doing that for me and really allowing me to have super interesting conversations with creatives and just talk about what lights us up inside and what matters most to us. And that's creating art that is meaningful and important to the world. And so, as always, I am so appreciative of you listening and allowing me to share that love of the arts with all of you. So, if you want to see any more of what Emma's up to, feel free to follow her at Emma Blake Art and also be sure to follow Dressed Rehearsal on Instagram so that we can stay in touch about all the exciting things happening and anytime a new episode drops. So, as always, I am so grateful for you listening, and I hope this serves as a reminder to follow what you love and put time and energy into the things that make you smile. All right, until our next episode. Bye.